On tonight's edition of the CHGO Cubs related podcast, just a little over 2 weeks to go. It's time to get Craig Counsell's Cubs ready for the playoffs, and Anthony Rizzo returns home. We'll talk about all that and more on tonight's edition of the CHGO Cubs related podcast. This is the CHGO Cubs-related podcast driven by Toyota. Let's go places and bet 365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use code CHGO365 at sign up. Hello, everyone. My name is Corey. I am joined, as always, by Brendan. We are coming to you on an off day. It is Thursday, September 11th, and just a couple weeks to go.
Do you ever know the dates? You always gotta check the dates.
Look it up every time. Yeah.
Do you even know what month it is? You know, it's like middle September. You know, we got 2 weeks left.
I do know what month it is. Yeah, and you would think, given the remembrance of today, I would remember that it is September 11th. But in the moment, I do not. So, just a couple weeks left here in the Chicago Cubs season. And Brendan, I'll start with an interesting question, and I see it in the chat. The Cubs have 83 wins. This has been somewhat of the magic number territory the last few years. Are you feeling comfortable that they'll get a couple more wins here?
Listen, let me tell you, they better.
At a new standard.
They better get more than 83 wins, or this is going to be one hell of a show in 2 weeks. I can tell you that.
Well, yeah, that would be interesting, especially heading into the playoffs. But yes, the last few years, 83 wins exactly. So hopefully just one more, two more at least. A few more would be great. But
two more.
Just a couple weeks left. So I think, especially on this off day, it's an interesting position, Brendan, because you and I were talking recently, like, these games that they're playing to finish out the year, they're certainly not meaningless. Home field in a short wild card series, especially against some potentially very dangerous teams, say it's San Diego or whoever else, you want home field advantage. Teams across the league, it's obviously usually true in sports, but I think especially in 2025, they're better at home. You want to be at home. You want to be playing at home. For all the talk of the wind and the offense can't hit, doesn't matter. They're still, you're better at home. You want to be at home. So that does matter. The division, not completely out of reach, but, would take some, would take some extreme things happening. All I'm saying is these games aren't meaningless. However, I do feel like a little bit, these next few weeks, it's not so much going through the motions, but as we kind of talked about last week, like, you're going to be in the playoffs, and the exercise is being right and ready to attack October and try to have a deep run in October, less so living in the everyday results to finish out September.
I texted you this earlier. The season's over for me. What I mean by that is the surprises, the disappointments, the unexpected developments. We more or less know who this team is. We know the ceiling and we know the floor.
We certainly do.
We certainly do. So over the next 2 weeks, I'm approaching this not like in spring training mode. Don't get that twisted. But the likelihood is they're going to make the playoffs unless they lose every single game. And if they continue playing at this pace, they'll be hosting the Padres or going to San Diego. So, the next 2 weeks, I'm owning in on how healthy is the pitching staff, how they use Cade Horton, how is the back end of the bullpen shaping out with Deontay Palencia's injury? What about Michael Soroka's potential return? How is Matthew Boyd going to be used in the last couple of weeks here going into playoff rotation? I'm gearing up for the postseason.
Yeah.
and the ins and outs of every single day, the wins and losses, the highs and lows. Should they, play this guy, and should they bat this guy 6th or 7th? I don't care. It's over in my
Yeah.
view.
I think it did sound like Soroka looked good in his
His
outing.
velocity's
I think
back up.
today, sitting 96. I saw some
Yeah.
good quotes about the slurve looking nice. So potentially a short inning reliever for the Cubs in the playoffs here. Yeah, I think that's what it is. We are kind of past the point of worrying about making the playoffs. We're in magic number territory, Brendan. We are counting down the days until we can lock this in. I don't know what, Craig's sensibilities are on this, but hopefully, unlike, what was it, 2018, they get to pop champagne and like actually
Yeah.
enjoy doing that. I especially want that for guys like,
I forgot about
Nico,
that.
Hap, like, guys who have been around for a while, but who are not necessarily, haven't experienced a lot of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're counting the days until you've clinched the playoffs. And for me, these next few weeks, it's getting guys healthy, and trying to get guys right. Of course, you need Kyle Tucker to come back and feel healthy. We'll see what the situation with Daniel Palencia, and if and when he's able to come back and what that looks like. And you just want these guys to start looking better. And I do think it's a time for Craig Counsell to not necessarily make grand decisions, but I think get a final look at guys and really sort of decide what their roles might be in the playoffs. I think Willie Castro is a really good example of this, Brendan. Like if he continues to not show you much over these last few weeks, I do think if you're Craig Counsell, you have to keep that in mind as you're writing these playoff lineups or making, in-game pinch hit decisions, things like that. This is kind of the last chance for guys to show you stuff. And I know Craig is a big, lean on kind of the track record and the bigger samples and all that other stuff. But that's, I think, something you can do in these few weeks, especially, guys in the bullpen as well. Like, here's a shot, like, show me what you got and give me a little bit of confidence, like, of what a role can be. And if I do want to deploy like a platoon split or a handedness split, whatever it might be, give me a little bit to kind of back that up rather than the kind of sputtering that we've seen from some of these guys.
I'll be honest with you. It would be nice to have the guys return healthy and look like their former selves in April, May. At this point, it's not going to change how I feel about that playoff series. Chris Bryant, in his last 120 plate appearances in 2016 in September, had a 293 weighted on base average. He batted almost just 220. So going into the playoffs, it was one of his worst stretches that year. He won the MVP that year, Corey, by the way.
Did he do anything important in those playoffs?
I had to jog my memory. Oh, they won the World Series, Remember that 2016?
I think he hit a really big homer off of, I can't remember the guy's name. I think he's one of the worst pitchers in Japan now.
Trevor Bowler.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Bowler, yeah.
Right.
The likelihood is once you get into a playoff stretch, the environment changes on a dime. So whatever adjustments you're making, you want to carry it over, but the crowd energy changes, the adrenaline changes, the emotional input changes. Guys really can take the next step. Javi Baez took the next step in 2016. I don't necessarily care. Don't get me wrong. I'm still looking at it. I would love to see PCA look like his former self. If it doesn't happen in these 2 weeks, I know the ceiling for PCA.
Sure. I meant more, I think, for some of these fringe guys. I think guys
I don't care about the fringe guys.
It's not so much that you're looking at these 2 weeks and expecting that to copy paste in the playoffs, but just for some of these guys, it's a last shot. I think if you're Craig, it's like, you got to show me a little bit of something. Or he would be leaning kind of fully on track record if you were going into the playoffs. Maybe that works, like.
They did sign Billy Hamilton to a minor league deal. So, I mean, to your point, if you want to talk about the fringe guys, if Willie Castro doesn't show anything, which I think he's probably going to make the roster, but who knows, right? Then you may just have a 3-game set and you have Billy Hamilton be that late inning pinch runner only, never touching a bat, never touching even a glove.
not taking the last swing of the season,
I
perhaps.
swear to God, if that happens, I'm done with this podcast.
That's a hypothetical. Something like that would never happen.
Never happen.
They would never allow a pinch run only guy to take the potentially most important at bat of a season in a wild card series. They would never let that happen.
Can we just think happy thoughts? Happy thoughts.
All right. Anyway, on the rest of this show, I do want to talk about Anthony Rizzo a little bit. Maybe we'll do that right now before our first ad break. Want to get into Cade Horton continuing to make a campaign to be Rookie of the Year, and just continuing to take a look at this roster and where guys are at, of course, setting things up for the playoffs. But in these few minutes before our first ad break, let's just talk about Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo going to retire as a Cub on Saturday. It sounds like he's going to be in the bleachers, and is joining the organization as an ambassador. And I particularly wanted to talk about this, Brendan, because, for you and I, we've been talking about Anthony Rizzo for a long time, before CHGO even existed. And I did want to offer our thoughts at least a little bit. I don't think they're, revolutionary, but I know there are a lot of people that listen to you and I that have listened to us talk about Anthony Rizzo for years. So I was thrilled by that news. I know you were as well. We've talked before, I have such reverence and admiration for guys like Billy Williams and Fergie Jenkins and, those that are no longer with us, Ernie Banks, Ron Santo, Ryan Sandberg. Great reverence for them. I know what they meant. My grandma, my parents have told me all about what these players mean and what those eras of Cubs baseball meant. But we've talked before that, given our age, we didn't see those guys play. And so it does have somewhat of a, call it disconnect, if you will. And we've talked before, just like continuing to want to see what we have seen over the last few years, more of guys that we grew up with and we really watch play, Kerry Wood, Derek Lee, Ramos Ramirez, of course, now Sammy Sosa, like being back in the fold, being at the Hall of Fame, that stuff. And now to get Anthony Rizzo here, Ben Zobrist is there a good bit. To get Anthony Rizzo, like we talked about this, man, it's impossible to, I think, explain and properly thank Anthony Rizzo for what he means to us, the fans, the city, the organization, and to have won a championship generations in the making, transformative championship in the world of sports, and to be the guy during that entire period, the de facto captain, the face, even if he wasn't always the best player, quote unquote, on each of those teams.
He was pretty good.
Performance. He was still really damn good. And he was the guy. When you look back at that era of Chicago Cubs baseball, it is Anthony Rizzo's face on the marquee, if you had to pick one. And if nothing else, Brendan, I hope that when he comes back, more Rizzo is excellent. If he's singing the stretch, if he's coming to games, doing exactly what like Fergie Jenkins and Billy Williams continue to do, that'd be great. I love seeing Anthony Rizzo. But more than anything, what excites me about this is I want him to get that constant like adulation and praise. He deserves it. And I say that, I said this when he was traded. I just hope these guys know how much we love them and they mean to us. And him being back and part of the organization, hopefully being at CubsCon every year and showing up at Wrigley a few times a year.
Spring training, all that.
Yeah, I want him to feel that. I want him to feel the constant love. It'll probably be overbearing at times, but he deserves it. He should feel how much he means to this city. And this will, if he doesn't already, ensure that that happens.
It's so important that they're doing this. The reason is, for me, when I was growing up as a young kid, 8, 9 years old, I heard the stories about Ryan Sandberg. I didn't live through the prime Sandberg era. Of course, I heard the stories about Ron Santo.
Ryan Sandberg would have been a Brendan Miller guy.
Oh my God, he would have been my guy, right? I heard about Sean Dustin, all those guys, Don Kessinger, like everyone. But I never saw them. I knew how important they were. It was a generational type communication thing. I got into the Cubs because I thought they were important, right? Grandpa talked about them. Family talked about them. They were really important. They were legends. Having Rizzo back only increases the odds that those stories, that next generation of Cub fans who never saw Rizzo play, Well, they get to hear the stories. They get to see the personality. I got to meet Ron Santo at spring training. I go up, I'm 10 years old. I stand up on the chair. Hello, Mr. Santo. Can I have your autograph? He's like, it's like Santa Claus to me, right? I can see the same type of situation for Rizzo and the next young generation of fans. I love that they're doing this now. And my fear was when they traded him that there was some ill will, that there was some, frustration with how things ended out. And maybe there wasn't, and granted, there probably was, but they worked its way out and he's back at Wrigley Field this Saturday. It's so good to see.
All right, we're going to hit our first ad break here. I think that's all we have on Rizzo, but maybe when we come out of the break. Before we hit the break, real quick, Brendan, I'm going to ask you, because the Cubs offense has been scoring like 2.5 runs for 2 months.
I was thinking it already.
If you put him in the lineup.
I was thinking it.
Is it any worse? I mean,
what if
would you rather have Anthony Rizzo get a couple hacks in there and Santana or Justin Turner skips the start? Like, what's the difference here?
Listen, if someone literally asked me, hey, you get to pick between Rizzo or Santana, like objectively speaking, no emotional input, I'd go Rizzo. Like, sign him up for a 3-week contract.
I'm in the dugout.
Just saying. All right, let's hit our first ad break here. Come back out. With Bet365's early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points. They have instant payouts on straight bets and parlays marked as winners. Download the app. Use code CHGO365 when you sign up. You have the Thursday night football going on right now for watching us. Thank you. They have the $10 safety net bet. Sunday night jackpot, bet $10 on the first touchdown scorer. If your player scores the final touchdown, you split $365,000 in bonus bets, win or lose. They have Monday Night Football, the 50% super profit boost token on SGPs, and the 100% parlay boost. Double your winnings on parlays with Bet365's 100% parlay boost. New customers get $300 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use code CHGO365, deposit $10 and bet $5 to claim your $300. Use bonus bets on spreads, totals, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or over. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, in-app only. If you've been meaning to get organized with your money, Monarch Money makes it easy to feel confident and in control of your finances. And right now, our listeners get 50% off their first year. I'm an idiot with the finances. I use Monarch to track my investments, increase my savings rate, and get a clear picture of my financial health week to week. It's especially helpful to review everything with even friends, what they're investing in, and to make sure that, our investments are likely going to yield and meet our long-term goals. Monarch is perfect if you've been putting off getting your finances organized. It does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear visuals of where your money is going, and finally feel like you're in control. You can use code CHGO at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code CHGO.
All right, Brendan, let's get back to talking about the current Cubs, whether that includes Anthony Rizzo in the lineup. We'll leave that to Craig and Jet, up to you guys. If you want to take a shot,
I mean, they may need a reliever too. He can go both ways.
Hey, now we're talking. I mean, look, you might face Freddie Freeman in the playoffs. I got a guy who has his number.
I know. No more walk-off.
Knows how to pitch to him. Yeah.
That's right.
Do you want the Yankees should have done that instead of Nestor Cortez. They should have let Rizzo pitch to him. Anyway, let's start. And I want to center this on the playoffs too, thinking about it. It's nice to be speaking that way again, Brendan, looking forward to being in the playoffs and playing playoff baseball. Just a handful of series left: Tampa, Pittsburgh, Cincy, the Mets, and the Cardinals. And that wraps up the season on the 28th of September. And I'm curious, as it sits right now, and I think this will lead into probably a discussion of Cade Horton. Let's say you have a 3-game wild card series. Who's starting those games for you?
Number 1, I go Shota. Number 2, I go Boyd. Number 3, I go Horton.
Okay.
The reason for this order, number one, Shota has the longest track record of success dating back to his MLB debut. He's also looked the most stable compared to Boyd between the two. Boyd, highest ceiling in terms of pure stuff and with potential, including what Horton's done this year. And then number three, Horton, if you win those first two games, you get to save him. So I would like
Lou Piniella over here. All
I'm
right.
just saying,
Okay.
right? So you get to save them, you get to protect those innings. And I think when you start projecting who's going to give you the most valuable innings, you see the ERA in the second half. Don't get me wrong, right? But if you want to at least maximize every inning possible, I think there's an argument to be made that either Boyd or Shota is equally probable in providing quality innings.
Okay. I think I'd switch Boyd and Horton. I'd get Horton out there. Yeah.
Does Boyd's remaining 2 weeks have an impact on that decision? He's been a little shaky here and there.
I don't know. It is tough. I mean, because especially at certain points in the season, it would have seemed a little crazy to not start Matthew Boyd in game one, right? I don't know.
I mean, like if you look at all the different numbers, whether it be ERA or WAR, whatever you want to get yourself into, he's top 5. Matthew Boyd.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it also, sort of depends. Like, I think it depends on who you're playing. You might want to break up, and not have two lefties start the first two games. But it might depend on who you're playing and what those lineups look like. I just kind of want Horton to get the ball. But I don't think I would have a problem either way. They would draw it up. Again, it is tough, to, do you want to weigh the recent stretch more, or do you want to weigh the stretch where, Matthew Boyd was legitimately a candidate for the Cy Young, despite, a slightly lower innings total. But yeah, I'm giving Shota the ball in game one. I think that's the right choice. And then, take your pick on how you want to draw up the other two. But that does lead us, continuing just a conversation about Cade Horton, who is just awesome, Brendan. We've broken him down. We talked about it week to week, but it just continues to be an incredible development for the Cubs, and the way that it's playing out to kind of set up the rest of his hopefully long career here. 2.7 ERA in 20 starts on the season, 110 innings pitched. And then you break down some of these other numbers. In his last 15 starts, he's got a 2.16 ERA in just under 80 innings. Last 7 starts, a 1.24 ERA in just under 37 innings, 36 strikeouts to 7 walks in that last 7 start stretch. He's been phenomenal. And I'm excited for him, not only for his development, but to have reached a point, Brendan, where, we do feel like he's going to be ready to go for the playoffs. We're continuing to see them, they pushed him back out there just a little bit in his last start against Atlanta, sent him back out just for a little bit. And, for such an uncertain situation when it started, how are they going to use him? How long was he going to go? Was he going to be on pitch counts every night? Was he going to have an innings limit? Who knows? To be sitting here feeling like, we're giving him the ball in October, and we have a wild card series to try to win and escape, and we'll figure it out from there. It's very exciting to be having that conversation.
Cade Horton too. We talk about lefty with Boyd and Shota. Those two guys are valuable because they don't have platoon splits. You can have Shota and Boyd face righties because they're going to throw a splitter or a changeup. For Horton going into the year, it was, he has that 4-seam fastball and he has a sweeper. What happens when he faces the lefties? He's going to need a pitch that fades the other way. When watching Horton against the Braves, the top 5 guys were like lefty hitters. Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Jurickson Profar. What did Cade Horton do? Well, his second most used pitch that game was the changeup, which is a pitch he didn't have last year or really at any point in his career. He's grown to use that pitch more often. That's what's been so impressive about Cade the entire season. It's the ability to mold in new pitch types and continue to attack in the process. Four-seam fastballs were completely blitzed through the zone again. He gets through the sixth inning with just 75 pitches again. The velocity was completely fine in the sixth inning, 95, 96, 97. It allows him to go back out for the seventh inning and get a shot, and he was still attacking, and the velocity still held up in the seventh inning. The way they've managed Cade up until this point, it appears to be almost perfect. The idea with limiting the pitch counts seems to have prompted an ability to just completely throw strikes nonstop. And he's recovering faster according to his words, and he's utilizing every pitch type to its full capacity. It's been so impressive to see.
Yeah, and it's, it really does set him up, especially the way playoff baseball is managed now. Like, unless you have some busy early innings, like, I don't think there's any expectation even if you unleashed him, right? Like, you're probably taking him out third time through the order anyway. Like, just the way Council manages and the way that they attack these playoff games. Like, so as long as he's, as you were just talking about, holding that velocity through 70-ish pitches, 75 pitches. Again, if you have a busy first inning or two, then yeah, the plan goes a bit off the rails, but welcome to playoff baseball. But you're probably not like, we're kind of past the age where you're expecting some of these guys to give you an 8-inning, 110 pitch start in the playoffs. Like, they're going to bring in the high leverage relievers. They're going to try to avoid guys going through the lineup third time. Like, that's just how these series are managed at this point. So, yeah, I mean, especially just seeing how he finishes down the stretch, but I'm excited to think that he would get the ball in the playoffs. I also envision him as like, it could be freezing at Wrigley Field in October. He's a no sleeves guy, I would assume. See the breath like coming out of,
I can see it perfectly. I can see it absolutely.
I know. I feel like I can read his vibe. Yeah. And then, the other thing is how much they decide to, kind of empty the tank. I mean, you have to win the wild card series. So, the joke we were making before, about Lou Piniella is like, you can't really look ahead. And, it's one of those things where would they have Jameson Taillon earmarked for a division round start if they were able to win? Would they use him or Javi Assad in long relief if one of these games got crazy or they needed to cover the innings? I don't know exactly. I think in my head, Assad would be that person, and you would probably hold Jameson Taillon. I don't think he's the type of guy you're looking at to cover long innings unless there's like some kind of emergency. But yeah, you kind of have to, you got to win the series. So there is no division series if you don't get past whoever you play in that wild card series. So you have to sell out to win those games. And, we've seen it with teams before where after they win that wild card series, everybody's kind of looking around going like, well, who's going to pitch? Like, these guys have pitched every day. You've worn them into the ground in these 3 games to try to win. It's like, well, that's what you got to do. You got to win the games.
That's right. And
there is no tomorrow, right? Like,
well, listen, what I would like to see happen is Cade can do exactly what we saw over the past 2 months and go 75 pitches through 6 innings. And we don't have to talk about who's piggybacking. Like, to me, that's not a worst case scenario. That's an anxious case scenario. I don't want to have guys roll switch. I don't want to have Jameson Taillon, have to come out of the bullpen coming off of a recent calf injury. And there's all these weird nagging issues he's had all year. I want guys' roles to be defined and comfortable with. And we are seeing glimpses of that going into the next 2 weeks. Ben Brown pitched the 9th inning a couple days ago. Javi Assad did get moved back to the bullpen. The role has been defined as him being more long relief. So to your point, is it long relief in like mop-up duty? Is it long relief in a piggyback role? Let's say Cade does get beaten around a little bit or his pitch count just gets elevated early on. Well, are they going to go with Javi Assad, even though it's a 1-run game? Like, those are the questions I do want to see worked out, but I'm not really spending too much time on it because the way I think about these playoffs is what is the max capacity outcome. And in 2016, we saw that from the pitching side. We had a good pitching performance seemingly every single game. So I'm not spending too much time on that as I am just dialing on certain players at bats and health. That's basically it. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. All right, so let's take our second ad break here. When we come back, kind of keep talking pitching, especially as it leads to the playoffs. And I think in light of the Palencia injury as well, let's take a look at the bullpen and kind of temperature check like how we feel, who's in that circle of trust, who can we, let's say it's the San Diego Padres, who's coming in to, get Manny Machado or Fernando Tatis out in high leverage and how comfortable we are with that. Let's hit our second ad break here and we'll be back in a minute.
Okay, at Toyota's national sales event, we've got a long lineup of vehicles for summer fun. Hey, Cub fans, Toyota has 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. The RAV4's legendary versatility, the Grand Highlander's adult-size third row is for real, and the Tacoma's wild side comes standard. From job size to camp size and game nights, there's an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive Toyota to get you there in style. Find yours at toyota.com or visit your Chicagoland Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. And become a CHGO diehard today. Upgrade your fandom. Get access to our exclusive written content, a free t-shirt, plenty of discounts on future merch and events, plus access to our CHGO Discord lounge where we all hang out and talk Chicago sports and so much more. Go to allchgo.com for the latest info on how you can join the thousands of CHGO diehards in our community. We cannot wait to connect with you on an ever greater level. All right, let's be real for a second. The world has gone soft. Everyone gets a trophy for just showing up. Everything needs to be bubble wrapped. Soda, or as some folks say, pop, used to have some kick. Now it's all about pretty colors and easy fizz. RC Cola is not a soft drink. It's just damn good cola. It's the original cola that does not fold under pressure. It is the ninth inning cola. It is the lockdown, get Manny Machado out cola. RC is the OG cola in a world of spineless soft drinks. No trends, no gimmicks, no glow up. RC has not changed its stripes since 1905 because it never needed to. It's the same bold, crisp flavor it has always been. RC Cola tastes like a punch in the thirst, Corey.
All right, Brendan, back with you here. Let's talk about the bullpen. So obviously, since you and I last talked, Daniel Palencia situation has happened. He is on the injured list. And so I just want to take a look at, temperature check on the bullpen and how they continue to approach things. So we have seen one Andrew Kittredge also in the ninth inning. And Andrew Kittredge over his last 7 outings, 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 1.35 ERA. So he certainly looked better. Obviously, you have Caleb Thielbar, who has been unbelievable. One of the best signings probably of the offseason, perhaps. And Brad Keller, who continues to be nails. And again, one of the better projects that the Cubs have taken on. In the playoffs, I would certainly expect, again, we'll see what the situation with Palencia is, if he's able to work back, what that looks like, and if he were slotted right back in that role or how they would approach that. I would expect, as has basically been the case the entire season, that Brad Keller continues to be your high leverage man. There's a problem, you call Brad Keller. Whatever inning that is in, if it's early, if it's late, that's what his job is. His job is to prevent mess. Thielbar has been excellent. Andrew Kittredge looking good. How do you feel about those 3 guys as it stands right now? And I guess the bullpen going beyond that and thinking specifically in the playoffs, obviously with the 3-batter minimum now, you can't have guys Bruce Bochying it out there, where we're seeing 12 different relievers in the same inning. But Craig's a big matchup guy. And so I would certainly expect that he is not going to simply utilize a couple guys to get through a playoff series. He's going to put guys in situations that maybe some folks aren't comfortable with, but such is the nature of playoff baseball.
I thought the way he used Kittredge last game was insightful. Keller faced number 2 through 4 in the lineup in the 8th inning. Andrew Kittredge comes in, faces 5 through 7. That was notable for me because it suggests a fireman role rather than a defined, okay, here's your 9th inning guy type role. I go back and forth on whether I like that. I do think there's an emotional component that changes everything. And what I would want to know going into a playoff series is how influential that environment would be on Keller and on Kittredge. For instance, if Keller needs to know, okay, I have my 2-inning warm-up routine. I need to know when I'm going in. And for Andrew Kittredge, similarly, but also, can he like handle that 9th inning stress? I know he's a Grizzly veteran, but it's that type of question that I'm curious about. In a perfect world, I do like defined roles. I understand the fireman role in a vacuum, but I do think there's a huge emotional component to this in the playoffs that I don't know how I feel about yet.
Well, and I want to ask you too, I see it in our YouTube chat comments. I want to ask you about Porter Hodge. Porter Hodge, a guy who, obviously coming into the year was being looked at to be one of the kind of stalwarts of the bullpen, obviously struggles, has issues there, but comes back in these last few outings, like looking a bit more like the guy you kind of hope for coming in. What are you seeing from Porter Hodge? And do you where would your confidence rank? And that I feel like that is a good one. We talked early in the episode about what you kind of want to see over these next few weeks. I feel like he is one of those guys where these outings are pretty valuable for a guy that is only recently, getting back up with the team and getting these opportunities. Like if he looked like he did the other night, 3-4 more times, you'd feel pretty good about that, right?
Yeah, the pecking order, the trio, if you will, is some form of Kittredge, Theobar, and Keller. So 7th, 8th, 9th inning.
Just as we drew it up in the
Just as we all drew it up. No Kirby Yates, no Tanner Scott in there. Bad. Porter Hodge and Taylor Rogers, are both kind of in that wishy-washy territory. You look at Rogers, his peripherals, they're spectacular. His walk rate with the Cubs is under 1 batter per 9 innings. His strikeout rate is nearly 13 batters per 9 innings. Then you look at the ERA and you're like, what the hell is going on over there, right? But he has a track record of ERAs of 2s and 3s over the past 3 seasons. So you have this one aging pitcher in Rogers who's more or less like a left-handed specialist. Then you have this boomer bust, unique Porter Hodge whiffable guy right there. How will Craig match those two? In the way I kind of described it is what I think Craig is hoping is the best case scenario. A left-handed bridge order. It's the 6th inning. You need to get outs. Okay, rather than Porter Hodge coming in, it's going to be Rogers. Or it's a right-handed dominant part of the 6th inning or the 5th inning. I'm going to go with the whiffs. I want Porter Hodge to come in and get the whiffs. What I think will define those roles, though, is just how consistent is Hodge. And I'm not sure that even within these 2 weeks, it will be enough for Counsell to give him that trust in medium to slightly higher leverage. I really don't know. But I talk about ceilings, right? And if Hodge is showing that in 2 weeks, the command looks okay, personally, I would be fine giving him those chances.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen the ceiling with Porter Hodge,
Yeah,
or at least flashes of it. He's nasty, and it was obviously a big disappointment the way the beginning of the season played out. So, can 2 weeks give you the utmost confidence in something being stable and something you're going to rely on every night come the playoffs? Probably not, but this is also just what you're working with, right? Like your closer just had a shoulder injury and you're trying to figure out how to deal with that.
I mean, what I will say though is you want Palencia back.
Of
So
course.
I want him back.
Yeah, of
I
course.
preface that, right? But the way the bullpen's shaped out right now, it could be a hell of a lot worse. You have two guys, in Thielbar and in Keller, who have been two of the most valuable relievers in Major League Baseball this year. Both of those guys' ERAs are 2.1 in total 120 innings. Both of them have been consistent the entire year. And then when you start getting to a playoff series, roles do become a little bit defined differently. So they do have some depth in their overall staff. What is that going to mean for Assad, like we talked about? What do they have in plan for us for Tyone? Colin Ray has been
yeah,
a starter, but what does that look like in max effort? Like maybe we see Colin Ray throw 98 out of the bullpen, right? What about Soroka, right? So like going into this postseason, there's a lot of possibilities. And so again, you start thinking max capacity over here. I'm encouraged by the high volume. I would love Palencia back, but it is more than manageable in my view.
I'm just like, it's funny to me thinking about the like potential, mapping out the games and thinking like, yeah, like, how we come on and talk about, man, it was cool last night that they won that game with, Matt Shaw and Cade Horton, like big young guys and prospects. Like, yeah, they won that playoff game and it was shut down by Michael Soroka, Colin Ray, and Porter Hodge, just like we all thought in the middle of July, right?
Baseballs, I mean, these relievers are so fickle. We laughed about the Tanner Scott and the Kirby Yates situation, right? But like a lot of fans, and we had these discussions, were up in arms about not signing those guys and looking at the Dodgers as like, oh, they just added two more power arms. Pitchers change so quickly. And for whatever reason, injury, health related or not, it can click even as soon as 1 month.
It's just such a volatile thing,
It
and
is.
it's I think again, like over these last, what was it, 5 series for the season, like, yeah, just trying to have guys in a good spot, feeling good about their stuff, feeling good about their command, and then of course it's up to Craig as to how he wants to deploy these things. And that'll depend on the opponent, that'll depend on the other manager and how they're going about things and stuff, but it's an extremely fickle thing, perhaps one of the most in sports. You're being asked to come in usually extremely tight situations and oftentimes be kind of perfect. You can't be walking guys. You have to get these 3 outs. Sometimes you're being asked to do it in the middle of the order. You haven't pitched all day, and there's no room for error. So it's an extremely fickle thing, and yeah, we'll see where things shake out even in these next 5 series, how these guys look and how our confidence level is with them. But I do agree to your larger point. Like the key is volume. You're going to need these guys. You can't sit here and expect some of these starting pitchers to go 7, 8 innings, and just clean up in the playoffs. Of course, it's possible. You have guys with the talent to do that, but you have to be prepared for guys running out of gas that third time through the order, feeling a little dangerous, and leaning on these guys. It's something we've talked about basically the whole year, Brendan. Like some of these guys, they're going to have to pitch. They're going to have to pitch. They're going to have to do their job. And you may not see all of them in the playoffs, but yeah, over these next couple weeks, see where guys are at. And it's interesting for Palencia. I think he was going to try to throw this weekend. That's an interesting one, Brendan. Like if he came back, like what they would trust him to do, so to speak. Because he was obviously struggling a little bit before he hit the injured list, some shaky saves and some blown saves. But overall, still we said last week I had confidence in him, and I did.
He looked really good
Yeah.
before that injury. The game before that injury was his best performance in months, and then he gets hurt. It's unfortunate.
And that's another one too with Palencia, like, especially to be the closer. And of course, if he's injured, this is obviously the key factor of that. But so much of it is you have to maintain that velocity. from start to start, especially in the playoffs. You're going to be asked to pitch back-to-back days. And if one day you're sitting 101 and the next day you're sitting 97, maybe you can get away with it, but probably not. And that's what separates some of those absolutely elite closers that are able to do this and get money doing it for year after year after year. It's because if they get asked to pitch on Monday, they're pumping 101. They get asked to pitch on Tuesday, they're pumping 101. Like that's how they go about their business. And Palencia is young. This is his first time being asked to do this at this level, this leverage, this often. So hopefully he can come back. It's just going to be an interesting situation. Like, let's say he gets back on the major league team with 5 games left or something like that. It's a fascinating situation to see where Craig would immediately kind of think like, hey, yeah, he's back out there in high leverage. He's our guy. Or like, well, let's work him back in there a little bit. It's interesting.
It is. Okay, let's start a second ad break here, finish this discussion. There is nothing better than catching a baseball game live, the energy, the crowd cheering on your team, but getting tickets, that can be a headache. Queues, logins, and prices that jump at checkout. But that's why I love Game Time. It gives the advantage back to the fans with just a few taps. You can unlock amazing tickets and experiences. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get 100% authentic tickets and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included. So you see what you see is what you pay. I can use the Game Time app. If I wanted to go see the Cubs this weekend, to go see Rizzo, well, I know I'm going to wake up that morning. I'm going to see the best price possible. You can also see the exact view from your seat before you buy, and if the price drops after you purchase, guess what? Game Time credits you 110% of the difference. So skip the stress and score last-minute tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and get ready to enjoy the game without the hassle. Okay, right now at Ray Chrysler, I just exited out my ad. I got it right here, though. New vehicles are in store at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and this is your chance to score a great deal at the Drive Into Fall event. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram vehicles. Right now, get up to $15,000 off MSRP or get 0% financing for 72 months on new 2025 models, plus shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000 with a friendly team of brand experts. The team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. Plus, since they prioritize affordability, you won't overpay for the vehicle that you need. Do not miss out on the Drive Into Fall event for huge savings on new models. For more info, visit Ray CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963.
All right, Brendan. I guess let's finish on the offense. Let's see how we feel about that. One thing I would note that has been nice to see over this recent stretch, been like a week or so, but Carson Kelly kind of looking a little bit like he did in the beginning of the year. Last 7 games, a 992 OPS, 4 home runs. So that's been good to see. It's been such an ebb and flow for so many of these guys. And whether he keeps it going into October, obviously we'll see. But it's been nice to get that in spurts a little bit. And overall, it's going to be, when we look back on this at the end of the year, like a fantastic signing and a really great season for Carson Kelly. Eva Wax asking why I don't do any ad reads. Brendan is out.
Yeah, why is that, Corey?
If you believe it, he likes to do that.
That's not true.
That's what you told me.
I told you that 10 years ago.
And
10 years ago.
So I never forget. Anyway, how do you feel about the offense as a whole? It does feel like, we're waiting to see what happens with Kyle Tucker, of course, and when he gets back and is healthy, which I expect him to be. But of course, it's a little unnerving sitting here in mid-September, like hoping that that's the case, especially how they handled the first time. But just so many games over this last couple months, where I texted you the other night, like basically like if you really like watching a starting pitcher have an excellent start and have to be absolutely perfect because his margin for error is basically zero, the 2025 Chicago Cubs are the team for you, because they have done that so many nights, it feels like recently. How do you feel about the offense? Is there anything you'd want to see over these next few weeks, or is it really kind of as we've talked about, like October's its own beast, see if somebody gets hot and Dansby Swanson wins World Series MVP?
I know it's not a popular take or whatever, and the vitriolic takes are the best, but in reality, it doesn't change the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. You're going to wake up that day in a completely different mindset. I need Kyle Tucker to be healthy. It'd be great if he comes back, hits a few home runs. I need Tucker healthy. I need the entire lineup healthy. I need PCA's knees. I need PCA to have Willie Castro's knee brace, his protector batting. If I see Pete Crow-Armstrong hit a foul ball off his kneecap again, I'm going to be tweeting at the Cubs nonstop. I also need them to be a little bit careful sliding. If I see any more jammed fingers, I'm going to lose my mind. The biggest factor for me is stay healthy. It'd be nice if you're hot. It's not a prerequisite. Don't let anyone tell you it is. The MVP of the 2016 season had a 293 weighted on base average in September. He won the MVP, hit multiple home runs, game-tying home runs in the NLDS, critical plate appearances in the NLCS, critical home runs, critical base hits in the World Series. It's about what have you shown this year, and can the most stressful, impactful moments, impactful days get that out of you? And we've seen so far every one of these batters at some point in the year, they have done that. Dansby's looked better recently. Yeah. Pete's done that in Cincinnati with the Grand Slam. It is well within the realm possibility that offense explodes just like that.
Yeah, I think it's certainly good that we've seen it. And it's not like they did it for only a short spurt. Like overall as a team, they've been just slightly over 500 for a few months now. But they were really good in April and May. So that's kept them, 20-something games over 500 or whatever it is. But this offense was humming not just for a week or, so like they were doing it for a couple months pretty consistently. So we know it's in there. Will it show up in October? Will we get the more decisive, aggressive, attacking Seiya Suzuki versus the more passive, take your walks, weirdly look at fastballs down the middle for strike three Seiya Suzuki? I don't know. And Kyle Tucker looked great before this recent injury. Hopefully that is not something that lingers and not something that, like we saw with the hand, has some sort of lingering effect that throws him really out of whack to where he's ripping grounders to first base every time he comes up. PCA, again, we've seen it, ebbs and flows. He's young, he's 23, and you're right. The lights are brighter in October. But I do take a good bit of solace in knowing, like, we saw it. This offense was humming. They were beating good pitchers. They were seeing a lot of pitches. They were taking walks, running the bases well. And certainly, did they do that for what's going to end up being 162 games? No, they didn't, right? They were inconsistent. Certain players had really bad stretches. And that's, some teams look a certain way mostly from beginning to end, and that's not necessarily what we saw, but we know it's in there, and we'll see what happens. I mean, what's my confidence? I don't know. I'd be lying if I said, like, it's just a very different, like, team than we've experienced recently, Brendan. Like, obviously it's easy to compare things to 2016, Rizzo's coming back, the team that won the World Series, et cetera, et cetera. Not to yada yada over the World Series, but
that who
we're talking about something else. Okay. The Cubs won it in 2016.
Okay. Just making
Sorry,
sure.
I could see you were confused. Yeah.
I was wondering.
But that team had an expectation, and honestly, really, like in 2017 as well, that would have been repeating. So you kind of have that in the back of your mind. But like that group just had, especially in 2016, obviously, like they were the best team. It was theirs to lose. October was more like playing a video game where you're trying to avoid the obstacles that take your lives and end the game. They were the best team. It was, can they just pay it off, show who they are, and get it done? That's not really what this is. That's not really what 2025 is. This is more, we know this team has the potential. Their ceiling is high. We've seen it. But what version of them shows up, I don't know. And that's how it is for most teams, most years. There's not necessarily anything wrong with it. But it's just, you're not going to have that confidence like you've had in other years where you feel like this is their title to lose. It's more of like, yeah, show up against San Diego or whoever it is, hopefully at Wrigley Field, and hope your pitching continues to do what it's been doing the entire season, especially in the second half here, which has been great starts, mostly good out of the bullpen, and really keeping an offense that has given you not a lot on a lot of days in these games, and then hoping that guys turn it up. You get some of those big performances, big moments that you saw at the beginning of the year.
That's how baseball is. It's not the NFL. It's not the NBA. You don't have these juggernaut teams who are expected to just go all the way through to the end of October, early November without issues. Each juggernaut has their issues in October. The Cubs almost blew the NLDS in 2016. The first few games against the Dodgers were giving me a stroke. Yeah. I did some bad things in the World Series when they went down 1-3. Let me tell you that. The Dodgers last year in Game 4 came down to a bullpen game against San Diego. This sport is so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. So for me to go on this camera and say, I need Pete Crow-Armstrong to hit 3 more home runs or we're doomed. No, absolutely not. I need Craig Counsell to bat Matt Shaw 6 or this team's going down the sewer. No, absolutely not. This stuff is so stupid to talk about. I need the team to wake up, have a great breakfast, get a massage. I want no tight calves, no oblique injuries.
No soft tissue problems.
No soft tissue issues. And just when the lights are brighter, embrace it and go off at the points we saw for 2 months earlier in the year. That's baseball. That is the reality of this sport.
And I think it's now I think some people would find one of these surprising, but that's why we're saying that I don't think so. We've seen it. It's one of those, like, you wouldn't be surprised either way. Like if the Cubs offense showed up and blew the doors off of the Padres and was like, oh yeah, it's the April Cubs again. Like, it's in there. We know it's in there, you know? And if they scored 2 runs a game and were unceremoniously knocked out, it wouldn't surprise you either.
Yeah, I'm not being optimistic over here. Believe me, this is not an optimistic take. If I could do it over again, I wouldn't be a baseball fan. This is the most pessimistic take. You can be a 110 win team and you can be eliminated within 1 to 2 series.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how it is. So yeah, wrapping up. I mean, I think over these next few weeks, you want to keep winning games. You want guys to be doing things. I see Evil Wax in our chat. Like, yeah, I'd love for PCA to hit. What does he need? 2 more home runs? I think he's been stuck on 28 for a while,
3, isn't it? Is it 3? Is it 2?
He was stuck on 28.
Whatever.
Someone in the chat will correct us. But yeah, I'd like to see him hit those milestones. And for these guys to pay off, you know, overall, what are really good seasons for the vast majority of them. And certainly you want them to look hot the week before, but it really doesn't have a strong correlation to what they do once they show up in October. So just get healthy, stay healthy. And, you know, for some of these guys, just try to be in the best headspace that they can in terms of their mechanics, routines, etc. And I think that's all you can really ask at the end of the day. Yeah.
The last 10-second tidbit. I believe the entire lineup over the past 3 weeks has shown signs of getting in that mind space that you're talking about. The next guy is just Seiya. Get into that headspace, get into that mind space. If he shows that in the next 2 weeks, well, to me, that's almost a perfect outcome.
Yeah. So That's what we got. But it's exciting to be in a place where we're preparing for the playoffs. A lot of questions coming into the year, a lot of questions throughout the year. Of course, wanted to win the division. Like there's levels to this, but ultimately they're going to make the playoffs. It's going to be a successful season in that regard. And we'll see what happens in October. Sometimes that's the best you can ask for. So we'll be back with you next Thursday. Let's keep on and enjoy the stress-free baseball for now, because soon enough, it's all the chips are on the table. So CHGO Cubs will be there all the way for you. Brett and I will be back with you next Thursday. We appreciate your support. And as always, go Cubs.
We all silly like the mayor.